You know, we're starting to hear from the cops of Houston that they felt a little left out over the last few weeks on the channel, so welcome back, boys. Hi friends, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver, and John already said it. We're back in Houston, Texas.
Mountain Man Medical has name brand proven trauma medical supplies with a price match guarantee to ensure you get the right gear at the right price. Check them out at get-asp.com/mountainman. The pursuit that we're watching here is because officers have tried to pull over a vehicle that they come to find out was stolen. They knew it was stolen when the plates came back. And that vehicle, shock of all shocks, failed to yield for that, and so they led them on kind of a medium speed pursuit. That pursuit is gonna end, and the driver and the front passenger are going to bail out of that. The driver is going to have a gun in his hand. Our officer here, who is the driver, is going to respond to that. Let's listen in on his badge cam.
The car, get the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on it! Do not fucking move! I got him! I got it! The gun's right here! Come get him! I got cover. Stay with it! Just stay with it! Stay with it! 5-3K, shots fired. Shots fired.
Hey, you got the gun right there.
Someone else, you good? Yeah, I'm good. All right. Just go hang out near your shop, right? Yeah. You're good, dude. Fuck, dude, what the fuck was he doing?
We have two more officer badge cams here of the aftermath with audio. Let's listen in how they treated this guy.
One suspect ran this way. Black male. So we have one outstanding. Yeah, one outstanding. Did you guys check him? Hey, where'd he go? This way. He should be running now, either north or southbound. Southbound. Black male, white hoodie, black jeans. Where you hit at, bro?
Right leg.
Right leg? Okay. Try to do a blood sweep on him. It's gonna hurt a little bit, you know.
Clear the faucet.
Okay. What's that? Yes.
Same type, boss, all right?
See if you can cut his pants.
I got a seatbelt cutter. Go ahead. Same type, boss, all right? You just hit on your leg?
That actually turned to blood.
Let me check it real quick. Make sure it's all you got. Oh, that bitch hurt.
All right, just your leg?
Atwell and Bel Air.
You good, bro. You good? So far, we just got that one to the leg.
All right, you got a light?
Yeah.
Yeah, put my jacket up.
Yeah, we gotta make sure you got no injuries, man.
Driver survived his single gunshot wound to the leg. If you go watch the original, you can see them get the other guy that ran into custody as well. The other three passengers of the car all gave up peacefully. There's an extended video of the guy who was the shooter, the officer who was the shooter here, helping him get those guys into custody. It's kind of funny if you want to watch it. The link is in the description. Thankfully, nobody else was harmed here, and our dude with the gun's facing charges. Seems like 10% of the comments in the channel are about my hair, and now, for the next couple of months, you actually get some say in whether I keep all of these curls. You guys know I've just been growing this as a joke and as having some fun. But for August and September, we are gonna do a fundraiser for SWAT Ministries, which is an incredible organization that rescues underage girls from sex slavery, helps abused and abandoned foster and adoptive kids, and they need help building a school and building a community, building facilities on land that they've recently purchased in Chiang Rai, Thailand. and this is your opportunity to help them. We actually have 2 buckets over on the Active Self-Protection website. One that says, John, keep growing your hair, and one that says, cut that mop off. So if you're angry about this, you can do something about it by donating at the link in the description to the Cut It Off. And if you want to say, hey man, it's just hair, keep it, I think it looks good, donate over there. When we get to the ASP National Conference at the end of September, we will total up the total giving, give it over to SWAT Ministries, and whichever bucket has more dollars in it, we will do live here on YouTube, and we will do it in front of everybody. If it needs to get shaved, it will get shaved. So listen, if you're tired of the hair, here's a chance to do good, and you get a say in it. So hit the link in the description, be a part of helping abused and abandoned children, and tell me what's up with my hair. Well, when you've got a stolen car here that fails to yield, you have to know there's gonna be problems, right? You have to know that they're not gonna eventually pull over and just give up and, oh, shucks, officer, and you're not gonna write them a ticket and send them on their way. So mental preparation, I think, here is really important. And I also think, Mike, managing arousal levels, and of course, using your breathing, your box breathing techniques and your pre-planning so that mentally you know what your strike points are, I think is a really important thing here to help this go well.
100%. I think I did notice he mentioned he had Bel Air with him. What he meant by that is he has Bel Air PD, which is a small suburb of Houston. So there may have been some communication issues. That's not, I didn't get too deep today, but it's always an interesting thing to think about. If I'm dealing with a third agency, how do I communicate with them? Can I communicate with them? What do they know? What do they not know? I think anytime you're in any kind of pursuit, foot pursuit, vehicle pursuit, even if you don't even know why it's a pursuit yet, anticipate that at the end things are going to go very, very poorly potentially. Be ready for that eventuality, because rarely do pursuits end in any kind of a good way. Usually it's a violent ending, at least a fist fight or something to get someone into custody, usually a foot pursuit. That's what happened here. And this officer just had to make really quick decisions based on the limited amount of information that he had. And, this guy decided to run with a gun in his hand, and we see what happened.
Yeah, and listen, we don't like educating crooks around here at Active Self-Protection, but if there's anybody who's just interested in carjacking and felony level lifestyle, listen, if you don't want to get shot by the cops, don't run with a gun in your hand like this, right? Leave the gun in the car, leave the gun and take the cannoli. And dated pop culture reference. So does the officer have reasonable probable cause here that under Tennessee versus Garner, that he's facing a threat of death or great bodily harm, that the community is at risk of death or great bodily harm from this guy? Absolutely yes. Is this justified shooting? Absolutely yes. Again, a fleeing felon in possession of a gun in his hand, not just has a gun on his person, but has that gun in his hand. Yeah, I think the officer can do that. And we saw the officer running originally without a gun in his hand, instead gets up there and stands tall and gets at least one hit. This is a very difficult shooting problem here of a guy that's around 20 yards away. He's moving, you're moving. So I'm not going to give him crap about the marksmanship for hitting the guy in the leg. I mean, getting a hit here is a big deal. Now then, I think he communicates pretty well with the officers around him. But when he just calls in shots fired, Mike, I did facepalm a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to go back to something you said a minute ago. Getting these shots off responsibly was not easy to do. Also, what he's also probably thinking is, I've got all these other officers that are about to be in front of this guy who may or may not know that he's armed. There's more than one agency there, so there's no telling what the other agency knew, or if they knew he was armed or not. They may or may not have heard that radio traffic. These are all considerations the officer has to take into account before firing. He has to protect these other officers that are about to be right in front of this dude and may or may not know he's armed. So that's definitely something you had to think about. With the radio traffic, again, I'm not going to give him too hard of a time, but look, if you're watching this as an LEO and it's time, let's say it's time to get on the radio. It may or may not have been time for him to get on the radio yet. We're not going to, that's a talk for another day. But once you're on the radio, if you're going to say something like shots fired, make sure you give more information. There's a million reasons for this, not the least of which is if you just say shots fired, all the other cops who aren't there yet are now going even faster and putting themselves and the public in even greater danger of getting there faster with lights and sirens because they don't know what's going on. So if you're able to get on the radio and say shots fired, give as much information as you can. The radio is yours at this point. Nobody else should be on the radio, not even the dispatcher. Shots fired, the suspect is down. I don't think any officers are hurt, something like that. Responding units can slow it down, whatever, and kind of lower the temperature a little bit because just yelling shots fired, that can cause all sorts of ripple issues that you're not even considering in the moment.
Now, I also want to say as we shift over to the second officer's badge cam, okay, they get him into custody. Now they're shifting their modes. And of course, this officer whose badge cam we're in, he decides, hey man, I need to get this gun safe, and pulls out the stendo and then unchambers the round. So it's a loaded gun with an extended magazine in it. And I just want to dispel this little internet myth that I see from time to time. Oh no, you don't want to touch the perp's gun because then it'll put your DNA and your fingerprints on it. Number one, that is fallacious. I mean, we almost never recover fingerprints off of firearms. It's very difficult to recover fingerprints off of firearms. Number two, it's not about whether your DNA is on there. Is there a reason for your DNA to be on there? Yes, I picked the gun up and I rendered it safe. I certainly wasn't going to put it into custody and into evidence loaded. That would have been highly irresponsible. And so I had to do that. And why didn't I put on gloves? Didn't come to think of it in the moment. I wanted to safe the gun. And so when you have plausible explanations like that, I've got it on my badge cam and all those things. These are the kind of things that are myths that need to die.
Yeah, and down the road, if it comes up for some, which it won't, by the way, but if it came up for some reason in court, the DA is going to bring this Officer Johnson in, sit him down on the witness stand, and discuss the evidence. On March, whatever the day was here, February 13th, 2023, were you on duty? Were you in uniform? Were you in a police car? What were you doing? What call were you responding to? And eventually we're going to get to, and did you approach the scene of this shooting? Did you observe a weapon on the ground? Did you pick it up to make sure the scene was safe and clear it, blah, blah, blah. That's all going to get taken care of. People who think that fingerprints and DNA from the police are an issue are the same people who think that we have geosynchronous satellites in orbit all the time and we can just zoom in on a license plate in Venezuela and say enhance 30 times until we can read it crystal clear. That stuff doesn't exist, but we appreciate the TV cop aspect of it for sure.
Yeah, and if you go watch, if you're on the Aspen Limited app and you watch me testifying in court about a firearm case there, I did have gloves on when I held that firearm, but that's because it's going to be in custody and in evidence for years and years and years. And the finger oils can render it, rusty. And so you just don't want to put those on there because you don't want the gun to degrade while it's in custody. So that's why I did that. It's not because I didn't want my DNA on it. If anybody had a problem with that, why is your DNA on the gun? Because I handled it in court, for goodness sakes. Finally, I love that these officers shifted very quickly into the mode of saving this guy's life. The sooner they got him in custody and they got him patted down, they started working on how do I, help this guy? Where are you shot? They even talked to him. It's funny to me how quickly his attitude changed when he had a bullet in him. Yes, sir. No, sir. My right leg, sir. The sirs came out in force. And so kudos to them for their attitude for that. I will say the one thing, a little technical thing here, the officer used his seatbelt cutter, which is what he had available. But this is why I think that you want to have a good first aid kit that includes some trauma shears on it. Because even the $8 trauma shears that you pick up that are the kind of cheapo generics, they will do a fine job of cutting through clothes and belts and all kinds of stuff very, very quickly so that you don't have the problem of the clothes and you don't have to improvise. So a good first aid kit, of course, the ankle first aid kit that we sell through Mountain Man Medical, if you buy one of those on Mountain Man Medical's website, all the profits that would come to us go to charity. So officers, I think, should have those. I think private citizens do. It's the one that I carry every day. But even if you don't choose ours, fine. Just go source one yourself or go buy a different one if that's what you want, even though the one that we offer is the only comfortable one I've ever found in the world. But whatever the case may be, have that kit on your person and know how to use it so that you've got the best tools available to you, because this is the kind of administrative stuff. In the end, I really do think these Houston officers, had all of their feces rolled up in one little ball. I think they did a darn fine job. They protected this guy's life, protected their whole community, and covered their ass.